Emma Chen adjusted her oversized tactical vest and looked up at her new team with bright, curious eyes. At 10 years old, she barely reached the waist of the shortest team member, a 7-foot Korathan warrior whose species had dominated galactic military academies for 3 centuries. "Hi, everyone," Emma said cheerfully, her voice echoing in the Nexus Prime Military Academy's briefing room. "I'm Emma, and I'll be your team leader for the final exercise." The silence that followed was deafening. Cadet Vorthake, the Korathan, exchanged glances with the other team members, a cybernetically enhanced Makani operative, twin Zephyrian assault specialists, and a crystalline strategist whose species processed information at superhuman speeds. Director KYSSera observed from the control booth, her tentacles writhing with nervous energy. The Academy had been pressured by the Human Integration Protocol to include younger humans in advanced training programs, but placing a child in command seemed like institutional suicide. "The exercise parameters are simple," announced the Academy AI. "Infiltrate the Omega Complex, retrieve the strategic intelligence, and extract without triggering catastrophic facility damage. Standard rules apply." Emma raised her small hand. Excuse me? What happens if we do trigger catastrophic damage?" "Then you fail spectacularly, and we spend 6 months rebuilding," Director KYSSera replied dryly. "The Omega Complex is our most sophisticated training facility. Please try not to break it." Emma nodded seriously, then turned to her team with the kind of expression that made experienced soldiers deeply uncomfortable, the look of a child who had just discovered a particularly interesting puzzle. "Okay, team, here's what we're going to do," she announced, pulling out a tablet and projecting the facility schematics. "First question, why are we sneaking in?" Cadet Vorthake's mandibles clicked impatiently. "Because it's an infiltration exercise, small human. Stealth is the objective." "But that's boring," Emma replied matter-of-factly, "and probably not very fun for everyone watching. Besides, I asked my mom about military stuff once, and she said the best strategy is usually the one nobody expects." The crystalline strategist, Cadet PRYX, flickered through several color patterns indicating deep thought. "What alternative do you propose, Commander?" Emma's grin could have powered a small starship. "We're going to knock." 20 minutes later, Director KYSSera watched in mounting horror as Emma led her team directly to the Omega Complex's main entrance. The facility's defensive systems activated automatically, energy barriers, automated turrets, and a sophisticated AI designed to repel any intrusion attempt. Emma walked up to the heavily fortified front door and pressed the communication button. "Hello," she said politely into the intercom. "We're here for the intelligence thingy. Could you please let us in?" The facility's AI, programmed with thousands of infiltration scenarios, had no protocol for a polite request. After a pause that lasted exactly 2.7 seconds, it responded. "Access denied. Please state your authorization." "Well," Emma said thoughtfully, "I'm 10 years old, which means I'm not supposed to be here, which means this is probably some kind of test about creative problem solving, which means you're supposed to try to stop us, which means—" She trailed off, pulling a small device from her backpack, something that looked suspiciously like a modified gaming console. "Emma, what is that?" asked Cadet ZYX, one of the Zephyrian twins. "My little brother's AI debugging tool," Emma replied casually. "He's really good with computers. I borrowed it." Before anyone could stop her, Emma plugged the device into the facility's external maintenance port, a connection point that was supposedly impossible for intruders to access or exploit. The Omega Complex's sophisticated security AI, designed to counter military-grade cyber attacks, encountered something it had never faced before, a 10-year-old's homework helper program that had been modified by an 8-year-old who thought security protocols were silly rules that made games less fun. The results were immediate and catastrophic. Every door in the facility opened simultaneously. The gravity generators began cycling through random settings. The holographic training environments activated at once, creating a bizarre amalgamation of jungle warfare, space combat, and underwater scenarios in the same corridors. "Oops," Emma said mildly as alarms began blaring throughout the academy. Her team stood frozen as exotic matter containment fields fluctuated, causing sections of the complex to phase in and out of normal spacetime. Emergency lighting cast rainbow patterns through artificially generated aurora effects that the weather control system had spontaneously decided to create. "Should we retreat?" Cadet Vorthake asked, his voice barely audible over the sounds of reality having a minor breakdown. "No," Emma announced happily. "The door's open, and the intelligence is in the central vault. This is actually working perfectly." She skipped through the chaos as if navigating a playground, her team following in stunned silence. Automated defenses fired harmlessly at holographic enemies that didn't exist, while the facility's AI pleaded through speakers for someone to please explain what was happening. 15 minutes later, Emma emerged from the central vault carrying the strategic intelligence package, humming a cheerful tune while behind her the Omega complex continued its reality-defying mechanical breakdown. "Mission accomplished," she announced to her speechless team. Director KYSSera's voice crackled through their comm units, sounding like someone who had just watched their career dissolve into quantum foam. "Cadet Chen, please report to the command center. And bring your brother's debugging tool." Emma looked puzzled. "Did we do something wrong?" Cadet PRYX flickered through several colors that roughly translated to existential confusion. "Commander, you just solved an impossible infiltration scenario by accidentally breaking the laws of physics." "Oh," Emma said brightly. "Cool. Does that mean we get extra credit?" In the command center, Director KYSSera was already composing her incident report. "Note to Human Integration Protocol. Recommend age restrictions on command positions. Also recommend significant facility upgrades. Also recommend early retirement for Director KYSSera." But as she watched Emma's team celebrating their completely unprecedented success, she couldn't help but notice something interesting in the tactical data. The child hadn't just stumbled into victory. She'd identified that the exercise's true test wasn't infiltration skills, but creative leadership under impossible circumstances. Perhaps humans weren't just dangerous because of their physical capabilities or psychological resilience. Perhaps they were dangerous because they approached problems like 10-year-olds, with boundless curiosity, complete disregard for conventional limitations, and the absolute certainty that there was always a more interesting way to do things. "Director," her aide asked nervously, "should we schedule repairs for the Omega complex?" KYSSera looked at the facility status report, which simply read, "Error, reality not found," and sighed deeply. "Schedule repairs," she said, "and update the exercise parameters. Apparently, we need to prepare for the possibility that humans will solve problems by accidentally rewriting the fundamental nature of our training systems." Emma, meanwhile, was already asking if they could do it again tomorrow, but maybe with more explosions next time.